Welcome back. We are diving deep today, really getting into one of the foundational epics, the Mahabharata.
Yes, specifically the core of the conflict.
Exactly. We're trying to give you a clearer path through what can be a really overwhelming narrative focusing just on the 18 days of the Kurukshetra War itself.
And it's crucial to understand this wasn't just armies clashing. The sources frame this as, well, the absolute peak of a struggle over rights, over dharma, righteous duty, kingship.
It started within a family, but spiraled into something huge, existential almost.
Definitely. And victory, as we'll see, it didn't come easily. It involved some, let's say, profound moral compromises along the way.
And we really need to touch on the origins because they set the stage for the level of, well, vengeance we see later on.
Good point.
The real point of no return wasn't just a land dispute, was it? It was that rigged dice game, the Sabhaparva.
Ah, yes, the dice game.
When Yudhishthira loses everything, the kingdom, and then, crucially, his wife Draupadi is publicly humiliated. Dusasa trying to disrobe her in front of everyone.
That specific act, that public violation,
Yep.
It set the terms. It created a debt that, in their view, could really only be paid back in blood.
So even when Krishna tries one last time for peace.
Right, the peace mission.
Yeah.
He asks Duryodhana for just 5 villages, just 5, to restore some balance.
And Duryodhana's response.
Total refusal. Utter arrogance. He mocks Krishna, famously says he wouldn't give them land enough to cover the point of a needle.
Wow. So, that was it then. No wiggle room.
None. At that point, the Pandavas felt they had absolutely no choice left. War was the only way to reclaim their honor, their rights, and what they saw as the moral order.
So our mission today is to walk through this 18-day timeline. We'll be tracking not just, who fell, but how the strategies shifted and maybe more importantly, how those ethical lines kept getting blurred.
Yeah, how the initial moral clarity of the Pandava cause perhaps got chipped away at by the necessities of war.
Okay, let's start at the beginning, the first 10 days. This part of the text is known as the Bhishma Parva. The Kaurava army is led by the grand old man himself, Bhishma.
All right, the grandsire. And day 1, it's a Kaurava landslide.
Really? They come out that strong?
Oh, absolutely. Bhishma leads brilliantly, inflicts heavy immediate losses. By the end of that first day, the Pandava forces aren't just beaten, they're scattered, confused.
Any specific examples stick out from day 1?
Yeah, the text mentions Shalya killing Uttara, who was Virata's son. And even one of Yudhishthira's own sons is killed right away. It's a rough start for them.
Okay, but it doesn't stay that way. The Pandavas must regroup.
They do. They realize pretty quickly they can't just sit back. By day 2, they push forward, go on the offense. Arjuna actually manages to target Bhishma directly, shatters his chariot, breaks his bow.
So a bit of a momentum shift.
Definitely. The Kaurava lines take significant hits, severe enough that they actually have to pull back by the end of day 2.
And then things seem to get very personal very quickly.
Extremely personal. Day 4 highlights this. Bhishma sets up a strong defensive formation, the Chakravyuha. But Bhima goes on a rampage.
This is Bhima fulfilling those vows from the dice game, isn't it?
Exactly. You can feel the raw personal fury. He's not just fighting strategically. He's targeting individuals. He uses his mace to take out war elephants, sending them stampeding back into the Kaurava ranks. Total chaos. And crucially, on that day, he kills 8 of Duryodhana's brothers. 8.
It's like he's ticking names off a list.
Pretty much. Bhishma actually advises Duryodhana after this day to maybe reconsider, maybe sue for peace. He recognizes the justice, the sheer force, on the Pandava's side.
But Duryodhana doesn't listen, obviously.
Nope. And the personal toll keeps climbing. Day 8 is arguably Bhima's biggest day on that front. He kills 17 more sons of Dhritarashtra. 17.
Just devastating. But the Kauravas must have hit back hard after that.
They do. Duryodhana unleashes a powerful warrior, a Rakshasa named Alambusha, and Alambusha manages to kill Arjuna's son, Iravan. So the cost of vengeance just keeps escalating on both sides.
Which leads us to the big problem, Bhishma himself. He's just too good, too powerful.
Exactly. Days 9 and 10 are all about how to neutralize Bhishma. On day 9, he's just unstoppable again, tearing through the Pandava lines. Arjuna hesitates. It's his grandfather, after all.
That must have been incredibly difficult.
So difficult that Krishna gets enraged by Arjuna's reluctance. He actually breaks his own vow not to wield weapons in this war.
Wait, Krishna breaks his vow?
He does. Leaps from the chariot, discus raised, ready to charge Bhishma himself. The gods actually have to intervene to stop him.
That's huge. What does that signal?
It signals that Bhishma must be taken off the board, but maybe not through pure force. Krishna realizes they need to find another way, exploit Bhishma's own rigid code of honor.
The ethical loophole.
Precisely. So, on day 10, the plan unfolds. The Pandavas position Shikhandi right in front of Arjuna.
Shikhandi, who the sources say was born female, right? And Bhishma had a vow about that.
Exactly. Bhishma had vowed never to raise arms against a woman or someone who'd been a woman. Seeing Shikhandi, he lowers his weapons, adhering to his dharma.
And Arjuna.
From behind Shikhandi, protected by Bhishma's vow, Arjuna fires arrow after arrow, relentlessly, mortally wounding his grandsire.
Wow. That's a massive ethical compromise right there. Strategy over principle.
It's the first really monumental one, yes. Bhishma, though, has that boon, Ichamitya. He can choose his moment of death.
So he doesn't die immediately?
No. He chooses to wait, lying on that famous bed of arrows, until the auspicious time of Uttaraya, the winter solstice ending. But effectively, the greatest Kaurava commander is neutralized, not by might, but by maneuvering around ethics.
Okay, so Bhishma is down. Who takes command next?
The command passes to another legendary figure, the great teacher Drona. This marks the start of the Drona Parva, covering days 11 through 15.
And does Drona stick with Bhishma's strategy?
No, he shifts immediately, and this is a really critical pivot strategically. He stops focusing on just routing the army or causing mass casualties.
What's his target then?
He targets the leadership, specifically Yudhishthira.
Why Yudhishthira?
Drona's insight, it seems, was that capturing Yudhishthira, the rightful king, the embodiment of their cause, would paralyze the Pandavas. It would effectively end the war in one move. Much more efficient.
Smart. Does he try this right away?
Yep. Day 11, he makes a major push to capture Yudhishthira. Almost gets him, too. Even knocks the bow from Yudhishthira's hands.
But someone saves him.
Arjuna. Swift intervention by Arjuna foils that attempt. So Drona tries again on day 12. This time, he has a plan to keep Arjuna busy.
Ow!
He uses the Samsaptakas. These were the Trigarta warriors. Basically a suicide squad sworn to defeat Arjuna or die trying. They engage Arjuna, drawing him far away from the main battle.
The diversion worked. Arjuna was occupied, but they still couldn't capture Yudhishthira. The Pandavas defended him fiercely.
So Drona's frustrated. What does he do next?
He unleashes his ultimate strategic weapon on day 13. This leads to, well, probably the most tragic single event of the war for the Pandavas.
This must be Abhimanyu. Yes. The death of Abhimanyu. Drona forms the incredibly complex Chakravyuha, that spinning wheel formation. It's a deadly trap. Very few warriors knew how to break into it, and even fewer knew the secret to getting back out.
And Arjuna knew both, but he was
Still engaged with the Samsaptakas, far away, couldn't help.
So who tries to break the formation?
Abhimanyu, Arjuna's young son. He knows the technique to enter, taught by Arjuna, but crucially, not the technique to exit. He volunteers anyway.
Brave, but incredibly dangerous.
Incredibly. He smashes his way in, fights heroically, kills many great Kaurava warriors single-handedly. But the plan was for the other Pandava heroes, Bhima, Yudhishthira, to follow him immediately.
What stopped them?
Jayadratha. He uses a boon he received from Lord Shiva, specifically to hold back the Pandavas, preventing anyone from entering the formation after Abhimanyu.
Oh no, so Abhimanyu is trapped inside, alone.
Completely trapped, isolated, surrounded by the greatest Kaurava warriors, Drona, Karna, Kripa, Ashwatthama, Duryodhana himself. He fights valiantly, exhausts himself, breaks weapons. Eventually, he's killed. Disarmed and overwhelmed, he's finally struck down by Dharmashana, Dushasana's son, in a mace fight.
The way he died. Surrounded, rules broken. That must have just shattered the Pandava.
It absolutely did. Killing a young warrior isolated like that by multiple veterans, it felt like a gross violation of the warrior code. This is the point where, ethically, things feel like they really spiral downward.
And Arjuna's reaction.
Pure grief and rage. He makes a terrible vow to kill Jayadratha before sunset the very next day, or immolate himself. Day 14 becomes entirely about fulfilling that vow.
So the pressure is immense on day 14.
Immense. And this leads to perhaps the most blatant use of deception in the war. Arjuna is fighting desperately, trying to reach Jayadratha. But time is running out. The sun is starting to set.
He's going to fail his vow.
It looks that way. But then Krishna steps in. He uses his divine power, his Maya, to create an illusion of sunset.
An illusion? You mean he fakes the sunset?
Yes, exactly. The Kauravas see the fake dusk. They cheer. Thinking Jayadratha is safe, Arjuna has failed and will have to kill himself. They lower their guard. Jayadratha comes out into the open.
And then
Krishna dispels the illusion. The real sun is still there. Arjuna immediately fires his arrow and decapitates the shocked Jayarda, fulfilling his vow just in time.
Wow. Okay, so he achieves his goal, but only through divine trickery, a blatant lie orchestrated by Krishna. How did the Pandavas feel about that? Does the text address it?
It does, implicitly. There's a sense that they were uncomfortable, maybe even aghast. But Krishna argues, essentially, that the larger goal, restoring Dharma by winning the war, justified these temporary deviations. He points out the Kauravas broke the rules first with Abhimanyu.
The ends justify the means? That's becoming a theme?
Very much so. It's a dangerous precedent. But even with Jayadratha dead, the cost continues. Day 14 also sees Karna finally use his ultimate weapon.
The Vasavi Shakti, the divine dart from Indra.
That's the one. He was saving it for Arjuna, but is forced to use it against Bhima's powerful son, the Rakshasa Gatotkacha, who is wreaking havoc on the Kaurava army, especially during the night battle. Gatotkacha is slain. A huge loss for the Pandavas, but it means the Shakti is now gone, can't be used on Arjuna.
So, gains and losses on both sides. Which brings us to Day 15, and another major figure falling.
Yes, Day 15 is the fall of Drona. And it's the absolute peak of deception in the war. Drona has been devastating, killing major Pandava allies like King Bharata and King Drupada. He seems unstoppable.
So how do they stop him? Brute force isn't working.
Krishna advises another trick, a psychological blow. He knows Drona's only vulnerability is his love for his son, Ashwatthama.
Okay, so what's the plan?
Bhima kills an elephant. An elephant that just happens to be named Ashwatthama.
An elephant named Ashwatthama? Seriously?
Seriously. And then Bhima loudly proclaims, Ashwatthama is dead. Ashwatthama is dead.
Drona hears this.
He hears it, and he's shaken. But he doesn't fully believe Bhima. He knows Bhima might lie. So he turns to the one person he trusts implicitly to always speak the truth.
Yudhishthira, the embodiment of Dharma.
Exactly. Drona asks Yudhishthira, is my son truly dead?
And what does Yudhishthira say? He can't lie, can he?
This is the agonizing part. Yudhishthira confirms, yes, Ashwatthama is dead. But he reportedly adds very softly, the elephant.
Oh, the qualifier? That Drona probably doesn't hear in the chaos of battle.
Precisely. Drona hears the confirmation from the source he trusts most. He believes his son is gone. His grief is overwhelming. He loses the will to fight, lays down his weapons, and sinks into meditation right there on his chariot.
Vulnerable.
Completely vulnerable. And Trishtadyumna, Drupada's son, commander of the Pandava army, whose father Drona had just killed, sees his chance. He leaps onto Drona's chariot and beheads the unarmed, grieving teacher.
Avenging his father. But killing an unarmed opponent who has laid down arms, another rule broken.
Another major rule broken. The greatest teacher is gone, not through skill in battle, but through a carefully constructed lie, confirmed by the pillar of truth himself. It's a deeply troubling moment.
And the day isn't even over. There's more.
One more significant event at the end of Day 15. Kunti, the Pandava mother, goes to Karna.
Why?
She reveals the truth she's kept hidden his whole life, that he is her eldest son, born before her marriage, making him the older half-brother of the Pandavas he's fighting.
Whoa, how does Karna react?
He's stunned, anguished, but he feels bound by his loyalty to Duryodhana. He does promise Kunti, however, that he will not kill any of his Pandava brothers in battle, except Arjuna. His rivalry with Arjuna is too deep. He promises her she will still have 5 sons at the end of the war. Either him or Arjuna will survive.
Incredible, setting up the final tragic confrontation. Okay, let's move into the climax. Days 16, 17, 18.
Right. With Drona gone, Karna finally becomes the supreme commander of the Kaurava army. Day 16 immediately becomes about settling old scores.
You mean Bhima again?
Yes. Bhima finally gets his ultimate revenge for Draupadi's humiliation back at the dice game. He confronts Dushasana, the one who tried to disrobe her. It's brutal. The text describes Bhima overpowering Dushasana, dragging him from his chariot, literally tearing off his arms, ripping open his chest, and drinking his blood.
Drinking his blood.
Yes, fulfilling the terrifying vow he made years ago. He then takes the blood and smears it onto Draupadi's hair, which he had sworn not to tie up until Dushasana paid for his crime.
This isn't just warfare anymore, it's visceral, almost primal retribution.
Exactly. It's the fulfillment of the oath born from that initial violation. Justice, perhaps, but terrifying in its execution.
Okay, so Dushasana is gone. What happens on Day 17? This must be the main event.
Day 17 is the day of the colossal duel, Karna versus Arjuna. But first, Karna faces the other Pandavas. He actually defeats Nakula, Sahadeva, and even Yudhishthira in individual combats.
But he spares them.
He spares them, honoring his promise to Kunti. He mocks them, insults them, but lets them live. Then the main event begins. Karna versus Arjuna.
The battle everyone has been waiting for. How does it go?
It's an epic duel. Both are incredibly skilled, evenly matched, using celestial weapons. Karna fights brilliantly. But then, disaster strikes for him.
What happens?
Remember that curse we mentioned from Parashurama, or maybe the earth goddess? The sources vary, but the effect is the same. At the most critical moment, his chariot wheel sinks deep into the mud.
Stuck in the middle of the fight.
Stuck fast. Karna is desperate. He jumps down, tries to free the wheel. He invokes the rules of chivalry, the rules of warfare, asking Arjuna for a pause, a moment of truce, while he's unarmed and dealing with his chariot.
What does Arjuna do? Does he grant the pause?
He hesitates. But Krishna, his charioteer and guide, urges him on.
Okay.
Krishna reminds Arjuna of all the times the Kauravas broke the rules of Abhimani's death, the dice game, Draupadi's humiliation. He essentially says, where was Dharma then? Karna showed no mercy, show him none now.
So Arjuna.
Following Krishna's intense urging, Arjuna refuses the request. He raises his bow, takes aim at the struggling, weaponless Karna, and fires the fatal arrow, killing him.
Killing him while he was helpless. Another major ethical gray area.
Absolutely. The death of Karna, killed while technically disarmed and disadvantaged due to a curse and circumstance, is one of the most debated moments. For the Kauravas, it's the final nail in the coffin. They know the war is lost.
Which brings us to the final day, day 18. Who's left to lead the Kauravas?
Shalya, the king of Madra, takes command, but the Kaurava army is a shadow of its former self. Shalya is killed relatively quickly by Yudhishthira himself in a spear fight.
And Shakuni, the architect of the dice game.
Sahadeva, the youngest Pandava, finally confronts and kills Shakuni, avenging the root cause of the entire conflict. The Kaurava leadership is basically gone now.
What about Duryodhana?
Duryodhana, seeing the utter collapse of his army, the death of all his brothers, Karna, his commanders, he finally despairs. He flees the battlefield and uses his yogic powers to hide at the bottom of a lake, hoping to evade defeat.
Hiding in a lake?
Yes, trying to preserve his life, but the Pandavas track him down. They stand on the shore, taunting him, challenging him to come out and fight like a warrior.
And Bhima challenges him.
Yes. Bhima issues the final challenge. A one-on-one mace duel to decide the war's ultimate victor. Duryodhana, stung by the insults, finally agrees.
So, the final showdown. Mace duel. Are there rules for this?
Oh yes, very strict rules. And the most important one is that you cannot strike your opponent below the waist. It's considered foul play at Terma.
Okay, so a fair fight to the end.
Well, Duryodhana is actually getting the upper hand initially. He's a master of mace fighting. Bhima is struggling. Krishna sees this.
And Krishna intervenes again.
He gives Bhima a signal, a subtle glance towards Bhima's own tie, reminding him of an earlier vow Bhima made to break Duryodhana's ties, the same ties Duryodhana had offensively exposed to Draupadi during the dice game assembly.
Another vow. So Bhima.
Understanding the hint, Bhima takes a mighty swing with his mace and deliberately, forcefully strikes Duryodhana squarely on the thighs, shattering them.
Breaking the cardinal rule of the duel.
Completely shattering it. It's an illegal blow. Duryodhana collapses, mortally wounded. Defeated not through fair combat, but through a strategic violation of the agreed-upon rules, prompted by Krishna.
So the war ends with the victor breaking the rules to win.
That's how the source is presented. The restoration of Dharma is achieved, but the final act itself is arguably a dharma.
What was the final body count then? What was the actual cost?
The cost was astronomical. The sources paint a picture of almost total annihilation. Virtually the entire Kaurava army, millions of warriors, wiped out.
And the survivors?
The list is incredibly short, tragically so. On the Pandava side, the 5 Pandava brothers themselves, Krishna and their ally Satyaki. On the Kaurava side, Ashwatthama, Drona's son, Kripacharya, another teacher, Kritavarma, a Yadava warrior allied with them, Yuyutsu, Dhritarashtra's one son who fought for the Pandavas, and Vishakatu, Karna's young son, often spared. That's basically it.
Just a handful left from those massive armies.
A handful. And the horror wasn't even quite over.
What do you mean?
There's the Saptika Parva, the Book of the Sleeping. That night, after the war technically ended, the 3 surviving Kaurava warriors, Ashwatthama, Kripa, and Kritavarma, launch a horrific retaliatory attack.
Attacking after the war is over.
Yes. They sneak into the victorious Pandava camp, while everyone is asleep and exhausted. Ashwatthama, enraged by his father's deceptive killing and Duryodhana's defeat, slaughters almost everyone left in the camp. Drishtadyumna, Shikhandi, the remaining sons of the Pandavas, the entire remnant of their army.
Oh my god, that's a massacre, a war crime, essentially.
It's presented as a monstrous violation of every conceivable rule of war and decency. Some sources say Lord Shiva himself guarded the Pandavas' personal tents, which is why the five brothers and Krishna survived, but the rest of the camp was annihilated.
So Yudhishthira wins, he becomes emperor of Hastinapura, but it must have been a hollow victory.
Completely hollow. The coronation happens, gifts are given, rituals performed, but the overwhelming mood is grief. The Sri Parva, the Book of the Women, details the heart-wrenching lamentations of the widows and mothers, especially Queen Gandhari, Duryodhana's mother.
Gandhari. She lost all 100 of her sons.
All of them. And in her grief and rage, she directs a powerful curse at Krishna, blaming him for allowing the destruction to happen when he had the power to stop it. She curses that his own clan, the Yadavas, will destroy each other in a similar fashion, and he will die alone.
A curse that eventually comes true, right?
It does. That guilt, that sense of profound loss and moral ambiguity, it hangs over the Pandavas for the rest of their lives. They rule for 36 years, but it's a reign marked by that sorrow.
Until they finally decide to leave.
Yes, in the Mahabharata Parva, the Book of the Great Journey, they renounce the throne, crown Abhimanyu's son Parikshit as king, and begin a final pilgrimage towards the Himalayas, seeking heaven.
And this is where they fall one by one.
Exactly. Draupadi is the first to fall, then Sahadeva, Nakula, Arjuna, and Bhima. Each falls because of some flaw or pride they still carried. Only Yudhishthira, the embodiment of Dharma, continues, accompanied only by a stray dog that has followed them.
The dog. That's important, isn't it?
Very. When Yudhishthira finally reaches the gates of heaven, Indra arrives in his divine chariot to welcome him. But Indra says the dog cannot enter heaven.
And Yudhishthira refuses.
He refuses point blank. He argues that the dog has been loyal and devoted throughout their journey, and abandoning it now would be a grave sin, a betrayal. He says he would rather forego heaven than abandon the faithful dog.
A final test of his dharma.
Indeed. And the dog then reveals its true form. It is a god Dharma himself, testing Yudhishthira one last time. Because of this ultimate act of loyalty and righteousness, Yudhishthira is granted the unique honor of entering heaven in his mortal body. The only one.
Wow, what a journey. So, tying this all back, this deep dive really shows that restoring justice, restoring Dharma as they saw it, wasn't straightforward.
Not at all. It required, as we saw, immense strategic thinking, but also a willingness to bend, and sometimes outright break, the rules. Ethical compromises were made at almost every critical juncture.
From using Shikhandi against Bhishma,
To the deception used to kill Drona.
and culminating in that illegal blow against Duryodhana.
Exactly. The very act of restoring order required moments of disorder, moments of dharma.
And the victors didn't exactly celebrate, did they?
No, the sources are clear on this. The Pandavas were filled with remorse, guilt, doubt. They questioned the very purpose of the war, the cost of their victory. They felt less like righteous kings and more like, well, perpetrators of a massacre.
Which leads to that final, really fascinating point you mentioned earlier.
Right, the ultimate paradox, perhaps. Filled with this doubt, needing guidance on how to rule righteously after such destruction, who do they turn to?
Not Krishna, not sages.
They turn to the dying Bhishma. Yudhishthira goes to his grandsire, still lying on that bed of arrows, waiting to choose his death, and asks him for instruction.
Instruction from the man they strategically neutralized through an ethical loophole.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And Bhishma, in the massive Shanti Parva and Anushasana Parva sections, delivers extensive discourses on kingship, on statecraft, on duty, on dharma, on spiritual discipline. The victors learned how to rule from the leader of the vanquished, the very symbol of the tradition they had to compromise to defeat.
So the final thought for you, the listener, to really mull over is this. Did the staggering cost of the Kurukshetra War, the compromises made, the rules broken, ultimately erase the moral clarity they started with? Did winning by bending Dharma force them to learn its true meaning only from the wisdom of the defeated?
It's a question the epic leaves hanging, a profound moral dilemma about the nature of justice, war, and the price of victory, something worth reflecting on long after this deep dive ends.